Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for tuning into your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. We're here to do sports talk. Again, I'm coming to you solo, so you have to deal with your host, the Viking Donkey. I'm sorry that it's just me, but hey, we're going to make the best of it. We're going to talk about some stories that have been happening a little bit, slow off-season NFL talk. And I mean, last week we did quarterback breakdown, so I think this week it only makes sense we go to the next position on the field. We'll do a running back breakdown of top five going into the season. So, all you Jackson Jennets, I do appreciate you joining me today. Let's start with how in the world is Julio Jones traded to the Tennessee Titans for essentially just a late second round draft pick? I mean, you're telling me a guy who I understand he was hurt last year, and I said it before, what is his value coming off an injury being 32 years old and owed a lot of money? Still, you have to feel it's a little more than what, unless Tennessee flops, it should be a little more than just a late second round draft pick, which is all that Atlanta really got from him. And Atlanta, please explain to me what you were doing here. If you're trying to rebuild your franchise, why didn't you move on from Matt Ryan when you had the chance? Why didn't you trade him for some capital when you had the chance? Instead, you hold on to Matt Ryan, you hold on to Julio Jones, then a little bit of sad talk comes up, and you give up Julio Jones really for almost nothing. Like, if you look at what other receivers have been traded for, I mean, you're talking a guy who, when he's healthy, is at the top of the league still, was last year putting up the numbers. You could say health isn't there, maybe this is going to slow him down in the future, but still, a late second rounder is essentially all you net. I know there was like a swap of picks and other things involved, but it breaks down to a late second rounder. I mean, how does Atlanta spin this as a good thing? If you're rebuilding the team, you needed to move on from Matt Ryan. Instead, you look like you're committing to Matt Ryan, look like you're trying to make one last push, and you decide, we're going to trade Julio Jones. I don't get the way that organization is being run right now. It's hard to see what the plus side was here. They could have held on to him, and if he had a good... It's not like you can't trade during the season, and trust me, plenty of teams would still be interested in Julio Jones in the middle of the season for what it turns into a late second round pick. And you could have seen if your team was making a run, and if Julio's doing good and your team's not doing good, his value goes up. The timing of this trade for what they got makes no sense to me unless they know something we don't know about his medicals, but that would be checked out thoroughly before a trade's made in the NFL. Trades get canceled all the time because of bad medicals. So you have to assume the medicals look good on Julio. And if that's the case, how does this trade happen? I mean, just an absolute F for the Atlanta Falcons and Tennessee Titans. That's an A+. Adding that guy to go beside Brown and Henry, I mean, Tannehill's going to be loving life. That's wow. Just wow for Tennessee, and just adds potentially another legitimate contender to the AFC right there. That's a crazy move. And the other story I want to talk about is a former Steeler favorite, Le'Veon Bell, going out there, and after talking about how great last season when he got signed, how great of an opportunity it is to be signed by Andy Reid, how great it is to play with him. Now all of a sudden he goes, I need to go to a defensive-minded coach. I'll never play for an offensive-minded coach like Andy Reid again because they don't know how to use me. I need a defensive-minded coach. What does that say about you as an offensive player if offensive-minded coaches don't know how to use me? Dude, that probably is a terrible showcase for you. It probably shows why the Steelers actually made a good decision by not paying you. And remember when you said, man, they're going to regret not paying me. They should have paid me when they could have. You know, it would have got done. I deserve more. Let's look at the last 3 years, dude. You did not deserve more. You deserved a lot less. Thank goodness we dodged that bullet. I hope you latch on somewhere and do good because I don't wish you really ill. You put in for the Steelers. I mean, there's a little bit I'm a little sour about the way it ended. But at the end of the day, go get yours. But you should have got yours when it was given to you. You just didn't like what it was. You tried to reset the market when everyone knows running backs don't last more than 5-6 years. You don't believe that? Look at some guys who are already running out from that same type of group. I mean, who knows what Zeke Elliott does this year? Christian McCaffrey's getting injured all the time. I mean, I wouldn't pay a running back ever, but hey, Le'Veon, go ahead and blame everybody else for your failures about it. Don't blame the fact that you just got a little too greedy because people in your ears were telling you things that weren't true. Because I remember how big of a market you claimed to have and how you were going to get it, and then literally no one wanted to pay you. But it's good to see that you're still willing to talk to the media to make yourself a story so people don't forget your name, because let's be honest, if it wasn't for you talking about how you're owed money or how you were the greatest thing ever, these last 3 years, no one would remember you from any average running back, because that's all you've been, is average at best, buddy. But hey, average at best is better than I'll ever be, so I give you kudos for that. I remember how good you were those first 4 years for Pittsburgh, so hey, I hope it works out for you in the end, but man, how about we put up a little bit before we talk this time? All right, I mean, which means you're going to go out and have a good year, so I'm going to be honest, because I said that last time about Devontae Adams. I'm like, how does this dude talk about how he's the best when he's never done it? He goes out and might be the best receiver in the league last year, definitely one of the better ones. So I've been known to eat my words before, and I won't be afraid to do it again. But Le'Veon, you've already talked before you showed, and then you didn't show up for 3 years. So this time, since you've already had the hit, show before you talk, man. Off season, I know, low on stories, but just seeing Le'Veon Bell talking it up again just makes me laugh. The good coaches, the good offensive coordinators who don't understand how to use me. What you mean? They give you the football. You're the easiest position in the league to use. Quarterback gets the ball, goes 3 steps, hands it to you. You go forward and make everyone fall in love because you score the touchdowns, you get the yards. Bro, don't be blaming everyone else because of your failures the last 3 years. Get back in there, recommit, come out and show it. That's what everyone wants to see. But since we just talked about a running back, let's break into it. Top 5 running backs going into this season. Brought to you by the Viking Donkey. This is the Donk Nation Top 5, I guess you can say, since I kind of get to lead it. And we'll go ahead. Number 1, the king. The guy who, for some reason, doesn't really get MVP votes, but deserves them. It has to be the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry. And you want to talk about a guy who just got probably a bigger running lane because you now have Brown and Jones on the outside? Woo! Looking golden for Derrick Henry to go out there and put up numbers, just run people over. Hopefully Spillane gets in his way and stops him when we play him. But maybe I don't hope that because he might get broken. But no doubt, the best running back in the league the last 2 years has to come in at number 1 until he proves otherwise. Derrick Henry is the king of the running backs, and he has to come in at Donk Nation number 1. That brings us to number 2. Number 2, a versatile back known for catching the football. Absolutely going to be a different system there in New Orleans this year, but Alvin Kamara just does it all. I wanted to draft him coming out of Tennessee. As everyone knows, I really loved him. I thought the Steelers could use him. Get him in the 3rd, 4th round would have been a huge one. I was happy we ended up with James Conner, but be honest, we got Alvin Kamara. You're talking something different. This dude just catches the football, runs the football. It's just an absolute difference maker on the football field. Stays healthy, which is something that you're going to see a little bit later. A few of these backs really don't do. But Alvin Kamara is just a playmaker. He's a guy who, when he's on the field, you can't stop. And he's just, I don't know how to explain what he does, but what he does is make defenses look bad. You put on the tape, he is definitely a top running back. I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit down because they don't feel as good on New Orleans this year. But I still think Alvin Kamara, your number 2 running back in the NFL going into this season. Number 3 is one that I might throw a lot of people off, especially a lot of Steelers fans. But this is a guy who just, yards per carry is crazy. He has another guy who's helping him in the backfield now, taking away carries so he gets to stay fresher. He's a guy who gets a lot better as the game goes on. And he has the best broken tackle rate in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. And that's none other than Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb. I didn't know how long he would last. Big backs tend to, not stay explosive very long, but he hasn't been around that long. He's still explosive, still running people over. You put in the box, he could still hit the hole. And honestly, he's a huge part of why Cleveland is where they are today because they're able to just use him, use him effectively, and they can put in Kareem Hunt to take off some of the workload, which, by the way, another good back, but does not make the top 5. And just a guy who just seems to get better every year. That offense is getting better. Those tools around are getting better, which opens up more holes. Baker Mayfield seems to be passing the ball a little better, which makes it so they have to play a little farther back. And I think this is going to be a big year for Nick Chubb on an offense that likes to be a run-based offense, a power offense, a power back, a perfect fitting for Pennsylvania, Ohio, late season, cold weather, football, rock'em, sock'em type of stuff. I mean, reminds me a little bit of I don't even know how to explain the type of running back I feel he could be going into the next level. He's like a smaller version of what Derrick Henry can do, a little more explosive than Derrick Henry on the top end. I really, really like what he brings, and I think he's a good spot here at number 3. Number 4 is the first running back that comes in with the ability to definitely be the best running back in the league. The rest. You like that? But also one of the most injury prone. And if anyone gets why I said, you like that when I messed up, it's because he plays with that guy, Kirk Cousins, and that's Dalvin Cook. Last year was just so dominant for so many games and disappeared for a little bit when defenses started to really cue on him. But watching a guy who single-handedly can carry games is amazing. Watching what he did last year, I would say has to be the best running back last season from the NFC. I think he did a little better than Alvin Kamara last year, did a little more than Alvin Kamara last year. I don't think he'll do as much as Alvin Kamara this year. I think Kamara's going to go out and really do some stuff with this probably more open New Orleans offense that's going to look to push the ball down the field a little bit more on every play with a quarterback that has an arm that can throw it more than 30 yards. And I think that opens up for him, which is why Dalvin Cook falls down to 4. But I do think Dalvin Cook, any of these guys in the top 5 have the ability to be the best season out there. The thing with Dalvin Cook is the injury risk is real. The performance is real too, but you have to wonder, Minnesota's lost a lot of linemen. They're doing a little bit of changing around, and that can at times be really bad for a running back, especially early season. At least there's a preseason this year for them to gel together, but I like what Dalvin Cook brings. He has been explosive. He has been a playmaker, and I think he is well-deserved to be in the top 5. And now at number 5, I kind of get a cheat here. So I have 4 running backs I love for this position. The guy I give it to primarily right now, purely because he hasn't gotten hurt, is Aaron Jones. And being in Green Bay, it might not work out so well for him if Aaron Rodgers doesn't report because he's still holding out. If he holds out and decides maybe to do the little 1-year retirement to push the cards in and make it harder for Green Bay next year, okay, we can talk about that. But Aaron Jones is a great running back, is now going to be more featured probably with Williams leaving, who knows, and had just great statistics the last couple of years. This is a guy who's really trending upward. That's why I really like him here. And he has stayed relatively healthy, which the other 3 people in this tie have not. Because all of 5, B, C, and D have injury problems and big question marks with them. And so that's why Aaron Jones gets up there. I think he actually slips out of my top 5 if Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up. So that's why I kind of put the 3 injured backs who I think could all step up into that role there. Otherwise, it'd be Aaron Jones. If you're telling me right now Aaron Rodgers is there week 1, then Jones is number 5 for me. But I don't feel that's true, so I have a couple little caveats here I'm going to use, and that goes to 5B, who is Christian McCaffrey. Undoubtedly one of the best running backs in the league. Great pass catcher. Might be the best pass receiving running back in the league. Super explosive, but injured way too often for me. A smaller back who gets injured often tends not to go well later on. Makes me a little nervous. I would like to see him stay healthy for this whole year and see what he can do, but I just don't feel like that's going to be a thing that happens. I feel like the injuries have started hitting him, and once backs like McCaffrey tend to get hurt once or twice, it becomes a repetitive thing, or they lose some explosiveness and they're not the same, a la Le'Veon Bell. Got the one big groin injury, and then it seemed like he lost a step, and once you lose a step in the NFL, you're just never the same. You can go back to being a good back, but you're never going to be that same great back. Which also leads us into, I guess it'd be 5C here, Saquon Barkley. Absolutely explosive, huge play guy. He's the 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 29 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 28 yard running back. And I don't know if that's because New York had a terrible line or that's just the way Saquon plays. But in terms of explosive plays, he has it. He has the size, the speed, and he's proven before. He'll run right past you or he'll run right past you if you have 9 in the box or 10 in the box. He doesn't really care. You could stack that box with every player, and there's a chance for Saquon to go and bust one. And New York looks like they have some better receivers now with Golladay and the likes. Looks like they've spent a little bit in investing in that line to hold up for Jones. And we'll see. And there's no doubt these guys are all super explosive like Saquon, but we'll see if he has lost a step is what I'm really trying to get at. So I don't want to put him up there alone until I see him play because ACLs can just ruin you, or you could come back and be the same guy. So I'd like to see him play a little bit before he would get moved in. And then there's another guy who it just doesn't seem like the amount of carries he's got he's able to hold up to. He's been injured a little bit, but at one point, Ezekiel Elliott was without a doubt the best running back for a year. Now the question is, can he regain that form? Was last year just Dallas had a bunch of injuries? Dak got hurt. The offensive line got hurt. Is that what really... And Zeke battled through a little nagging injuries here and there. Is that what made Zeke look a step slower last year? Or is Zeke really a step slower? We'll have to see. And that's why for B, C, and D, all coming off big injuries in the last couple of years, all coming with big question marks. But I feel all of them needed to be mentioned because they would have been a three-way tie of injured running backs is what I was going to state it as. But I felt Aaron Jones deserved to be mentioned. And I feel like Aaron Jones, if Aaron Rodgers is there, is going to be a top 5 back. So Aaron Jones truly rounds out my top 5. And then you have my 3 alternates with the caveat of if Rodgers misses. So to break it down again, that should be Derrick Henry, number 1. Alvin Kamara, number 2. Nick Chubb, number 3. Coming in at number 4 is none other than Dalvin Cook. And then number 5, Aaron Jones. With alternates, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott. Not in the order I said originally, but it doesn't matter because I view all 3 of those as the same entity, essentially. So that is what it is. That's my rankings. Feel free to let me know what yours are. If you have anything else you want to put out there. I mean, it's just me freeballing. Not freeballing. Just that's not what I meant to say. Everyone discard that. Just out here throwing my thoughts out there. Obviously, I'm not thinking very well because we have a mic slip there. Yeah, not what I meant to say, but, just throwing my thoughts out there, trying to see what's going on. Just trying to see what everybody's thinking. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Tell me your top 5. Tell me how bad my top 5 is. Tell me what you think of the list, because I really am curious to know. And for anyone who's still watching, I really do appreciate it. That's going to be my shout out this week, is to anyone who's still watching through the boring time. Thank you. I hope you appreciate all the little slip-ups I had this week. Apparently I wasn't thinking too great, but hey, it is what it is. I tried my best. Sometimes my mind thinks faster than my mouth, and sometimes I'm just out here singing my makeshift version of Tom Petty's Free Fallin' in my head, and I say the wrong thing when I can't think of words. So, that is what it is. Next week, probably breaking down wide receivers, maybe tight ends. Maybe we'll do a 2-for-1 deal. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. Maybe we'll have Gingy back and we can debate his rankings on positions because, debates make it better. Or maybe we'll bring in Zoidy. Zoidy's always good for a debate. Maybe Laskers. I don't know. We'll try to figure something out for all the loyal listeners out there. I do appreciate y'all for tuning in this week. I gave my shout outs. All I gotta do is tell you, you can reach me at Viking Donkey on Xbox, Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Go ahead and check us out, the Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. Leave us a comment, send us an email, tell us what you think, tell us if you want to be on the show, tell us if there's something you want us to break down. Because honestly, me trying to run with my ideas, I don't know what to do all the time. I just think on the spot. If someone has something they want to break down, that's even better, because then I can have someone else's opinion to go off of, or someone else's view, how they feel, and see if that's how I feel, or why it's different. And that makes for better commentary. But I appreciate everyone for stopping by. All the Jackson Jennets, you are way appreciated. I love it. And you know what time it is. Wave them if you got them, baby. Wave them if you got them.